Hello, everyone. This is the new episode of the Movie Night Society. It's been, I think, over a couple weeks since we did our last movie, right?
I
Uh,
think 2 weeks, right? Three?
yeah, I think two. I think it's been two. Yeah, last time we did The Evil Dead, which was one of my favorite movies. And today we're talking about 2001: A Space Odyssey. Uh, Probably one of the most famous movies ever. One of the considered one of the best movies ever made. Uh, Will, this was your pick. I want to hear why you picked it, and I want to hear what you thought about it. Because first time viewing, I feel like is always very different from rewatching this movie.
Yeah, I can see
So
why. Well, it's kind of like you said, it's considered to be one of the most famous movies of all time. Never saw it. Thought it looked very interesting. I knew about Hal already. That's all I knew going into the movie. And I just decided that was a good time to see it. So that was my logic behind choosing the movie. As to what I think about it, oh my gosh. I just expected this movie to be all about like the Hal stuff. So when that only ended up being kind of like a third of the movie, and then the whole beginning and the whole end part, this was probably the most trippiest movie I've ever seen. Especially like the last third. If we want to, we'll talk about that I guess later. But I had to look up stuff because I'm like, there's no way I get like any of this ending. I think I get some things, but I read that was kind of like the intention behind it, so I didn't feel too stupid afterwards.
yeah, this is a movie where I feel like everyone kind of has a similar reaction. Like, what did I just watch? Um, but I don't know when did you watch it? Like, how many days ago, or like was it super recently? Or
I watched it I think on Sunday. No,
okay.
part of it Saturday. No, part of it Friday, and the other part Saturday.
Okay. Well, it's one of those movies where I feel like even if you don't like it, it sticks with you, you know? Like it's
Oh yeah, for
really
sure. Very
it's one of
unforgettable, whether you liked it or not.
yeah, definitely. Um yeah, I don't know how many times I've seen it now. Probably quite a few. Um yeah, Dustin, what about you? What's your kind of history with this movie? I think we watched it
Yeah,
like like a decade ago,
you
right?
showed it to me originally. Uh, Prior to that, I don't, if I remember right, I hadn't even heard of it ever. Especially at that time, I wasn't much of a movie buff. I don't say I'm a movie buff now, but I'm more knowledgeable about more historic shit like this. But at the time, I don't think I had even heard of it ever. And I remember watching it, and I don't remember what my reaction was at the time, but I do remember at the very least uh, that it was moderately like I didn't know what was happening, like with the whole monolith stuff, even in the beginning, not just the end. I was just like, I don't really get it. The second time I watched it, I've only seen it 3 times ever. I don't remember. I watched it on my own at one point after we saw it for the first time. And then the most recent time was 2 years ago. I didn't watch it recently for this, but I did watch a recap video, and I will say, um, very truthfully, I remembered everything in that recap video. It was like a synopsis explanation video or whatever. It was 15 minutes long and what kind of went through the plot and everything. I remembered everything about the movie with some minor plot stuff, like very minor stuff I didn't remember, but it was like, okay, it wasn't too big. Surprisingly, I didn't remember the last third, the ending with all the crazy shit. I don't know why my brain just didn't.
That's the one
Yeah,
part I think you
I
would
know.
remember.
yeah, that's what I was
I
about
know.
to say.
That while I was watching this video, I'm like, dude, why don't I not like nothing clicked? Everything else with like the whole like evolution stuff, and then like the launch, and then them on the moon, and then like the house stuff. I remembered everything. Also, I think, in my opinion, what caught my attention the most, I love the plot with Hal. I for some reason that's my favorite part. I just think it's crazy dope. To this day, anything to do with AI stuff is cool to me. So uh I don't think even if I did watch the movie like today instead of the video that I watched, I still think I would have needed to watch the video I just did because it explained certain things about, especially like the ending, Will, like how you were saying, or even in the beginning sometimes, like how shit was just like, what the, like, what am I looking at? And thankfully that video explained it. And I think I said this before. I don't remember which movie it was about. I don't usually like old movies. I don't know what it is, man. Just old film, that kind of thing. It just doesn't catch my.
Can I just say this movie does not feel old at all?
Well,
No,
I'm getting
I was gonna say,
well, I'm getting there.
yeah,
I've had to throw that in. Go continue.
yeah.
I get where you're coming from because I do agree. I think even today, there were certain liberties and creative things taken in like how they filmed a lot of the things, and obviously back then it was like never before seen type shit almost. And I know that much. And even now, movies with even low budgets that bomb or that never make it to theaters do shit worse than 2001 did. If it was like made today, that kind of thing. So that's how you know,
Including
2001
a
is
movie
good.
that we watched on a prior episode, John Carter.
Oh my god, like they couldn't even
It's
get.
crazy how much
Dude.
this movie looks more recent than that
Yeah.
movie.
And what's
And a
funny
lot of
about
other.
that, I was thinking about that comparison. There's this one, and I'm not going into the plot or anything, but there's one scene, if you remember, and this is one of the few things that the video brought up, but there was a scene with like a floating pen in space,
Yeah.
and it looked very fucking natural. Like it literally, if you go and watch videos right now of like dudes making videos on the space station, it looked that real. But then you look at John Carter and they can't even make somebody jumping look realistic. Like you gotta wonder what the fuck happened. Like in the time between 2001 and now, because it seems for the technology they had at the time, they did everything right. And I don't know back then what they could have done wrong, because filmmaking to me back then, I don't know the specifics. I don't know where the general like technicality was at for most movies compared to this. So at the very least, I don't think they did anything wrong. But overall, without getting into specifics yet, I like it. I don't think it, along with movies that were made when that movie was made, I don't think it's that kind of old movie, but I can tell it is an older movie. And that's just honestly just the quality of the film, but that comes with the time. I don't hate it because of that. It's just for some reason, my head is just like, it must have been something with childhood. But when I see older filmmaking and stuff, it's just, it doesn't scratch that itch. Like I'm like a fucking ADD brain. Like I need some Avengers level shit going on screen to even catch my attention. Like it's funny, but like that's literally how my head works. But not really, because then I requested we watch fucking Land. So I guess I'm two ways about it. But overall, I do like 2001, not just for the technical aspect at the time, even now, but also for I just at that time in movies, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong because I don't know what to compare it to at the time, but I feel like this is one of the only movies that really took a stance on like evolution and fucking AI turning against it. Like it was just so ahead of its time, because all those kind of movies didn't start getting popular until recently. And I feel like since then, I've seen so many films that have very obvious connections to 2001, where maybe the directors took ideas or certain creative liberties from 2001. I feel like it was one of those core movies that a lot of stuff branched off into. And that's without me even fully watching it through recently. So overall, I liked it. In fact, I probably am going to watch it after this because I do want to see that whole last part I don't remember, which I'm sure we'll get into later. And then I also want to just rewatch the whole build up of the HAL 9000 like stuff, because I just love that kind of thing. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I think I want to go to one thing you said about the evolution thing, because it's funny because this movie, and I could be wrong, but as far as I've researched, both this movie and Planet of the Apes came out the very same day, and they both kind of feature the idea of like evolution, like are humans going to sort of evolve into something else, or like, it tackles those types of themes. They were both based on books. and they also have monkeys in them. So
Monkey.
it was funny because I recommended both of these movies to my staff movie club for that reason. And man, I just like the level of effects in this movie versus Planet of the Apes is very is very vast. I think
Yeah,
Planet of the Apes had a much lower budget though.
that would explain it. And on that, do you? And I might be wrong here for the times because obviously I wasn't like conscious as a human being when this came out. But do you think maybe one of the reasons they maybe not that they did well at the time, but maybe the reason that that type of subject was made into a film like this was because of the shock value at the time. Because if you think of like back then when it came out, tackling evolution even now is a big fucking deal in politics and religion, whatever it may be. And that was a very big screen thing that happened. And I don't know if it was successful in the box office, but I feel like maybe that was one of the contributing reasons as to why maybe it was so widespread. At the very least, maybe not box office numbers, but in like the film community. Whereas like now the shock value would be like gay characters on screen because that's a really big fucking deal right now. And even though it shouldn't be because it's just normal, that's just it happens to be one of those things. So I'm
I
kind
mean,
of comparing it to that.
I don't know if this movie. I don't really know about that at the time. I think the reason that this movie got made in particular, I think, was more because of the whole space race. And
That
this
makes
was
more
like
sense.
what, a year before we
Yeah,
landed on the moon, right? If I'm getting my
I don't,
history
I
right.
don't know. I don't remember.
Um,
That makes more
I think
sense though.
I think that was probably a bigger part for this movie, and I'm not sure about Planet of the Apes, because that was based on a book um, that was written in France, I believe,
Really?
uh, and then adapted here.
I
And
thought
Rod
some
Serling,
American dude just made the movie. That's weird. That's
no,
cool.
but it was Rod Serling. I'm gonna try not to talk about Planet of the Apes too much, but Rod Serling, I think, wrote that movie.
Mhm.
He created Twilight Zone, so that was like that. But I think with this movie, the script and the book, I think, were kind of written simultaneously. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure that could have been a factor, the whole evolution theme, but I really genuinely don't know.
I mean, the space race sounds more. I didn't know that was the thing. I don't know the years
Yeah,
when that happened, so that makes more sense to
and
me.
I
Actually,
think it's worth pointing out too that there's lots of conspiracy theorists that think that Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing,
what
and
a bunch of fucking idiots.
I think it's because that this movie really kind of feels like they genuinely are in space lots of the time.
That's fucking
And it was
funny.
just so unlike anything we'd seen. Like this again, this is a year prior to the moon landing, and it's like,
Fuck, man.
yeah, we're I don't know, I can't think of any other movie even since this movie that just feels like I'm like genuinely in space. You know what I mean?
Interstellar, for me personally. I'm not saying that for you, but for me, I got like that's
Well,
full on
Interstellar was definitely influenced by this movie. I know
100%.
Christopher Nolan,
I'm bringing that
yeah,
up later.
really looked up to this movie in particular. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I was thinking of like how do we talk about this movie because it's a very simple movie when you kind of just strip it to its bare elements of plot. So should we just go through the plot real fast and then just talk about what we thought about it?
I think yeah, because there's a lot of talking points. To be honest, it'll probably save time. If we go through
Yeah.
both normally, it might be like 3 hours.
Yeah, I'd say this movie is basically divided into like four parts or so. There's the beginning with the dawn of man, where we basically kind of almost in a documentary style sort of just view early man living on uh, just like in the desert, I guess. And they are encountered like visited. I don't really know how to put it because so much of this movie is so kind of left up to interpretation. But basically, the from the picture behind me, this monolith, this black, uh, yeah, monolith just appears in front of this kind of tribe of early man, uh, and after that, they sort of learn to use tools and fight back against this other tribe, and then it kind of jumps all the way from early man to, I guess, like 2000, like the year 2000 or 2001. Um, I say 2000 because it says like after this point, it says like 18 months later,
Hmm.
and then we get into the house stuff. So I think that's the part that takes place in 2001.
That makes sense.
So, but it's not that important. So,
Imagine the whole
I mean,
movie takes place in 2002.
into yeah. So this part basically follows this. I think he was American, right? I actually couldn't tell at first, and I didn't bother to look it up, but I think this guy is American.
Who, Bowman?
Yes, yeah.
I believe Bowman is. I don't know about the others.
Um,
Again, I might be wrong too, but I'm pretty sure. Maybe Canadian or
no,
something.
Bowman is David in the last part. Anyway, it doesn't really matter that much, but this scientist goes up to this space station and he gives a talk about they found something on the moon. They found something buried there. And yeah, we basically follow him in this very like kind of methodical, almost procedural way of like kind of like getting to that point where he's at the dig site on the moon. So he like goes to the space station and like talks to some people that he knows and like sits down with them and have a chat, and then goes like and calls his daughter on like a video call, which I don't know if that was like the first movie to kind of do that, but that was very, like
Interstellar connection, by the way, 100%.
oh yeah. But that part was very like prophetic, just to like I don't know like if that was like a common idea in sci-fi at the time or anything, but
I mean,
it
there's
was just
no way,
really
right?
interesting to it
Maybe
was just
the
interesting to see
Twilight
that.
Zone, but I can't
Maybe.
imagine many movies at the time being like, oh yeah, fucking video calling through space, totally a fucking. I mean, maybe in books, movies though, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
So
maybe when did excuse my language, goddamn, when did I keep saying stuff? When did Jetsons come out? The Jetsons, was it around the
I have
same
no
time?
idea.
Because if the
Jetsons,
Jetsons is old as hell, and if the Jetsons was
It was
out
like the
around this
60s or
time,
70s, I think.
62 was the
Yeah.
Jetsons.
so then based on that, I'm gonna have to say it probably was around a lot. I want to
Yeah,
say.
but being able to like the way they show it, everything in this movie is done so like realistically. It just felt like
The walking in the
so
circle.
believable. Yeah. So anyway, it's just like he goes through lots of these things. He like gives a speech to like a bunch of other officials or whatever, and then yeah, he goes to the moon with a bunch of other astronauts, and they walk into this dig site and they see the monolith. Or maybe it's not the monolith, maybe it's another monolith. We never
A
really
monolith?
know. We never know if there's more than one, but they say that this particular monolith was buried there. But who knows? It could still be the same one. It's
It
it's
would
never
make
explained.
sense. It would make sense since the first one was how many millions of years ago? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
what if the beginning scene took place on the moon and not the Earth? That far back?
I doubt
Theory?
that, but
Movie theory? No?
I doubt that, but who knows? Maybe. I know the book explains a lot more of what happens,
Hmm.
and it's very
I read in the
uh,
book that they are supposed to be different monoliths.
Hmm.
okay.
Did the
Yeah,
book come out before the movie or after?
well,
or
I don't
during?
know exactly, but like they were basically, I think, kind of written in parallel.
Mm.
Um, I think probably the book came out first, is my
I mean,
guess.
I'm only asking because it's like no matter what, a book always has more details compared to something on screen, which it's just because you have more time to explain shit. But I only ask because if it was before, then it means they cut shit out of the movie, so you could go back to the book for context as like a canon type thing. Whereas if it came out after, not that it makes it less important, but maybe they just added shit in because people literally didn't understand it at all, so they had to give some kind of. I'm kind of breaking the plot of it. I'm kind of going into the fourth wall here, but that's why I ask. I'm just curious because I know a lot of books do that. Like books that come out after a movie, maybe that weren't
It's
written
it
along with the
says
script is.
it says the novelization came out after the film's release, and
Then in
that
that case,
this
I guess it seems like it would be written alongside it, though, right? Because the script, the concept is so in depth. I can't imagine. I don't know. That's just curiosity killing the cat right there. So,
yeah, it says that it was also based on short stories by Arthur C. Clarke.
hmm.
Um, so I think that was probably the genesis of it, and then they sort of kind of co-wrote, um, or I think they wrote the book and script kind of, yeah, concurrently.
Okay. So it's like
But
canon. So it literally
I
will
don't
what
know.
you
I
read.
wouldn't say it's canon. I
No.
think it's like they're just different, you know.
Okay.
Um, I know, like with Kubrick especially, he takes these books and sort of adapts them in a very um kind of stripped down and more visual way. Like I don't know if you guys have seen The Shining. I think you
Yeah.
have, Dustin, right? Okay.
Recently, I watched it for the first time 2 months ago.
Oh shit.
Yeah, for the
It's re-
very first
it's
time.
it's great, but um I read the book like a couple years back, and it was like, man, the book has so much more kind of detail about like the characters' like thought processes and like why they do things and stuff. Where the movie is very much like it's more about kind of atmosphere and mood and sort of telling this very basic version of it, which I think is great in its own way, and I think it works really well with film. Um,
I mean, it
but
has
that,
to, right? Because film is by definition visual kind of
yeah,
art. So it makes sense to me.
yeah, definitely. So I think that's more the case with this. It's like I think they're just two very different things from what I understand, but probably still pretty similar. Um, this is one of those movies where like I almost don't want to look up things about it and know more. It's like I kind of like not having as much context for it because I think it makes it more interpretable. And every time I see this movie, I get different results. You know, I like feel different things about it every time. Uh, so, but Will, if you like read anything about the book, like don't you know, feel free to chime in.
No, that's all I really read because it was just mentioned in one of the articles I was reading. I didn't read the book or anything. That just happened to talk about that in what I was reading because I did want to get a little bit better idea of the ending or like other people's interpretation of the ending. And I just know that they mentioned some things about the book, but that was pretty much it.
I am curious. Did wait? It was Kubrick who made this, right?
Yeah,
But
Kubrick directed it
did
and
Kubrick
co-wrote it.
have did Kubrick have anything to do with the writing of the book at all? If it
I
came
I
out after,
don't I don't think so. I
because
think it
then
was more like a kind of like Arthur C. Clarke wrote it kind of on his own, but I
because
think
then
they
my theory of the monolith kind of changes, right? Because I'm still at this point, if the book technically isn't by him, I wouldn't consider it canon. I don't know. That's kind of weird to say because that's not me saying I'm pushing the book aside. But I feel like it's weird, right? Because I don't know if I want to get into this because it's at the end. I have to. So the whole monolith thing of the book saying there's two, I'm still in the mind that there's only one, but I'm not sure because if you remember at the end, the monolith shows up as if it's like a being of some sort in the room that he's in. So it makes me think that maybe it's like some kind of entity. Not that there couldn't be multiple, but if it can just show up and move around, it makes sense off just at a base level that it might have just been moving around from Earth to the moon to Jupiter ish, wherever the hell he went. But I don't know. That's my thoughts coming in right now. I'm thinking because if it can just show up out of nowhere, it feels like it could have just showed up on the moon, like underground or something. Not that it was necessarily buried. I don't know. I feel like discussing my theories in this is important because it's fucking gnarly. But
Oh yeah, I think we're all gonna have to discuss what we thought about it. And to
sorry, I
that
keep
point,
interrupting
like
the plot. I'm sorry.
it does
My mind.
appear just kind of suddenly in front of the the apes or the early man or whatever. Uh, so yeah, I think this movie is very good at like being mysterious, uh, and kind of keeping you thinking about it and guessing what it's about. Um, but yeah, so these astronauts go to this dig site and they're like taking pictures of it and stuff, just kind of admiring it, and then it kind of like emits this loud, high pitched noise, and then we just suddenly cut to 18 months later with this team going to Jupiter on a spaceship, where about like three, I think like 3 or 4 astronauts are like kind of put in stasis, and then 2 uh, are awake and running things, and they have a computer, an AI on the ship called HAL 9000, which I forgot what HAL stood for. Um, if
Something
anyone wants to look
artificial
that up,
life form, right?
I
H
think it was,
artificial
yeah,
life form. I
something
forget
like
what the
that.
I forget what the H is.
I don't remember.
I might be completely wrong. That's me pulling info from 2 years ago because the thing I watched didn't say, so I don't remember either. Can I look it up? Should I look it up? I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. I'm kind
You
of
keep
hinting at
explaining.
you guys to
I'll
look
wait.
it up.
I'll wait for a pause.
Well, I'll keep going. But so basically, they're kind of running the ship. Everything's going fine. We sort of learn about and how this AI sort of functions. It's very human-like, very receptive to like emotion, uh, and one of the satellites, one of the communication satellites, goes out. Or Hal says it's going to fail in like 3 days or something. So one of them goes out and checks it out, and there's nothing wrong with it. And they sort of implants the idea that like, okay, maybe Hal is malfunctioning, maybe something's up, because the Hal series is supposed to be like this perfect, no mistakes are made by these AI. And I love the line where Hal says, "I think it can only be attributed to human error." We'll talk about Hal in a second, but I love great character. But so they kind of like the two of them. It's David and what was the other guy's name? I
Bowman.
think it was, what was it?
Bowman.
Well, his name is David Bowman.
I think
Oh, what the
Frank
fuck?
was the other guy's name.
Yeah, Frank Poole, I think.
Oh, I
Yeah.
only went by
Yeah,
last
I think
name.
that's right. So they kind of are like, they go in one of the ships, so that Hal doesn't hear them, and they kind of discuss like, something feels off about Hal. Like, what should we do about it? And they kind of like go like, well, we not much we can do about it right now. Let's just keep going. And then I love this little cliffhanger here before the intermission. It's revealed that Hal is reading their lips and can hear everything that they're saying. And they talk about, while they're in that pod, um, that basically if Hal malfunctions or something, the only way to stop him is to like completely shut him down. And so then there's an intermission, and then Frank goes out to put back in the communication satellite or whatever.
The thing that Hal made an error on.
Yeah, they were like checking out this thing on the communication satellite. They brought it back into the ship, and now he's going out to put it back in. And Hal controls one of the pods and um, basically uses it to hit Frank out into space, and he goes flying out. And David gets in another pod to save Frank, but it's too late at that point. He's dead. And yeah, David, after Hal kind of like locks him out, uh, manages to get back inside of the ship and then shuts down Hal. That's basically what happens. I mean, there's obviously lots more to it, but I'm just trying to get the major points here. So
Before you
he
get
shuts
to the
down.
last
Yeah.
part after Hal, so Hal's name, I'll tell you what it means, and then I'll tell you a little, apparently a fan rumor about it. But it stands for heuristically programmed algorithmic computer. So I was completely wrong. And I guess heuristically and algorithmic are two primary processes of intelligence, hence the name. And then the fan theory is that it says here, again, not confirmed, that it has often been a legend that the name Hal was derived because each letter comes one place before IBM in the alphabet. And at the time, obviously, IBM was crazy. I've never heard that. So
I think I've heard that before, but yeah, that's funny. Okay, so what was it again? I like just forgot.
Heuristically programmed algorithmic computer.
Okay, I think artificial life form
sounds better.
Sounds it's a little more memorable, but
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so he shuts down Hal, and a video starts playing. I don't know if it's because he shut down Hal or because they actually are starting to reach. I think it's because they're starting to reach Jupiter at this point. I should also mention that Hal cuts off the life support systems for the crew members that are in cryostasis. So, but yeah, going back, yeah, David shuts down Hal, and this video message starts playing about from I guess like one of their superiors or whatever, talking about the monolith that they found on the moon, and I think he says something about like they kept it a secret from the crew to kind of not they weren't being completely honest about what their mission was. And then yeah, this is the last chapter, Jupiter and Beyond the Infinite, I think it's called. And it's essentially just a very psychedelic trip where David is traveling through another dimension, some kind of Stargate or whatever. Again, it's never explained. He never says like a single line here. The rest of this part, if I remember correctly, is completely dialogueless. And David, yeah, goes through this portal. I mean, if you've seen the movie, you've seen like how this all looks, but it's lots of colors, uh, and trippy images and stuff. And then he sort of wakes up in the pod, and he's out. He's like in some very lavish looking room or mansion or something. We never really see the outside of this building, but he steps out and he sees an older version of himself sitting down and eating dinner at a table. And then the older self looks back at where his younger self is. His younger self isn't there anymore. The older version keeps eating. Then he notices an even older version of himself, I think in the bed, right?
Yeah.
And same thing kind of happens. The older version looks toward the younger version. Younger version's not there anymore. And then this old version of David kind of, I assume, bedridden at this point.
He looks like it.
Yeah, he looks very old, and but he looks at the past the foot of his bed, and the monolith is there at his bed, and David is suddenly transformed into this like
Giant
gi-
baby.
a giant fetus basically, and it's overlooking Earth, and then the movie ends, and that's really the whole movie. I'm sure I missed some details, but like
I think
it
you
is a
hit
very
everything,
simple
to be
plot when you
honest.
kind of break it down.
You literally hit every plot point, I think.
I think I did, yeah. Um, so yeah, and then and then the audience is like, "What the hell was that?"
The fuck?
And many decades of discussion on this movie have occurred since then, and I don't know if a single interpretation is right. You know, it's one of those movies where it's Stanley Kubrick never said like anything about what it means. Uh, he had, yeah, basically kind of the idea that like, well, if I say anything, it kind of ruins the mystery. And I completely agree. I think that was a very smart thing to do. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I've been talking for most of this time. What did you guys? What do we do now? How do we even start with this movie
I
in
guess
terms
just
of discussing it?
explain our theories and what we liked and disliked, I guess. I'll let you go first, because
Yeah,
you
I'm
chose
very
it.
curious about Will's interpretation, if
Yeah,
he
real
has one.
quick though,
Okay.
I do want to point out before I forget. I don't know if, well, anybody watching, I guess the 12 people watching, or everyone left over from the fucking John Carter episode, the thousands. But Rick and Morty season 5 recently did, I believe it was no. It was one of the episodes in season 5 recently, and they've made past, uh what do I call them? Past references to 2001. But in the most recent season they did, with a giant baby in space, except you know how fucked up the show is. It was a giant incest baby. That's what they called it. And I'm not gonna get into that, but it was definitely like through some of the visuals. I mean, they definitely, you could tell it was, so even now. Yeah, and I feel like, and I'm only saying this because I don't want to forget later before I get into anything. But yeah, I feel like if Kubrick came out and told us what he meant and what exactly everything meant and what how shit was played out, and got rid of the mystery, this movie would not be as big as it is right now. I think it would have, the discussion about it would have died out a long time ago. And to this day, I think because of his decision, you still have these triple A shows and movies making references to it that are okay because it's still shrouded in mystery. You can kind of run free with theories. But yeah, I just wanted to say that, Will, before you get in there, because I know I'm gonna forget.
Oh, that's fine. I first gotta mention that I was the only one that was going in this movie blind, and I thought like the whole movie was just the house stuff. I mentioned that before, but so when we had like 20 minutes of just like these apes doing things, I was almost like I had to keep checking. Am I watching the right movie? I thought this was a space movie, but this is like 20 minutes of this very like intentionally kind of slow paced like little mini story going on here. And I just thought that was funny because I had to keep checking the time and make sure I was watching the right thing because did not know about any of that. And then it transitions into the next part. And then I think it was like an hour in. It's like, we're just now getting to see Hal. It's like, how after like an hour in are we just now getting to see this stuff? This is crazy. I thought this was like the movie. And then you had this whole hour of build up to this. Okay, and then it turns out that it's like the last kind of part doesn't have him either. This blew my mind in a completely different way because usually when a lot of people reference this movie, it feels like usually they pull stuff from that part of the movie, like the Hal part. Hal's like a pretty iconic character in and of itself. So usually I don't see like a whole lot of parodying the other two or referencing the other parts of the movie as nearly as much as Hal, you know? So I just figured that was the majority of them. Like, that was the whole movie. It'd start with, you know, Hal kind of acting like a normal AI and then like gradually, start killing off people and stuff like that. That's just all I went into expecting. Um, and
I
like
think that's a
that
good,
stuff does happen, but it's
yeah.
only like a third of the movie.
Yeah, it really is like basically the last half is where David and that whole team comes in.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, because it's like a little bit before the intermission that part starts. The movie's like 2.5 hours, I believe,
yeah,
altogether.
yeah.
Um,
I did not know it was that long. I was like, oh wow, 2.5 hours.
yeah, I
Huh.
always kind of forget it's like that long, but uh, yeah, well, I just want to say like before I watched it this time for this discussion, I was sort of like, well, I just watched it like a few months ago. I watched it in January for my staff movie club, and it was like, I'll put it on and I'll see if you know, I might do some other stuff on my computer because I've already seen it so recently. As soon as the movie started, I had to stop everything else I was doing. I'm just like, pay attention. It's so engrossing of a movie, in my opinion. It just like sucks you right in. Um, but yeah, well, what you do you have like an interpretation, or is it like still too soon? Like, did you have any thoughts on like what it meant or what happened?
Probably like right afterwards. Like, no, I was still just trying to wrap my head around all the things that happened. I could tell like when he gets to Jupiter, he sees the monolith, and he's like, it's like he's traveling through space, and we get how many minutes does it last? Like 10 minutes? Less. It felt like 10 minutes at least of just like
Yeah,
all
it's
those colors and like traveling. We see like just
It was a
a
while.
couple images of his like his face, like he doesn't, and his eyes, like he's not understanding like what he's seen. He can't really process it. I was kind of understanding all of that, and then we get to the room. And it's like, okay, he like what is this? I just have, is this like the monolith just showing us this? Is it something else? Um, is it aliens? I don't know what. And then he's kind of wandering around the room, and I immediately noticed he looks older. Did just traveling through space time age him in some way? And then when he kind of looks into a different room and he sees somebody else, I at first I'm like thinking, okay, is this going to be like the person who lives here? Did he bring him here? Is he like the one behind the monoliths? And then it's like kind of it took a little bit of while, but I was like, I think that's an older version of him, but it didn't click with me like right at first because I'm still just trying to think like, is this like the owner of the room, or like what is this? What's going on? And then when the older version of him points to like the even older version of him in the bed, then it's like, okay, for sure, this is he's his like life is just going very quickly by where he can see older parts of himself. Um, and then like at the end when he's like kind of what looks to be on his deathbed, and he does the point, and it's like the monolith again, and then he's like the baby. I think they have a name like Star Child or something that they called it
yes,
in the
it's
book.
often referred to as Star Child. I don't think I mean, it's
Yeah,
never said in the movie. I'm not. Maybe it said it in the credits or something.
Maybe the
Yeah,
script
something
too.
like that. I think I read it,
Yeah, it could have been the
heard
script.
that name in like the article I was reading, that it's referred to as the Star Child overlooking the Earth. Um, and yeah, I couldn't like really grasp what the director, what Kubrick was like trying to tell us, like right at first, because it's kind of like what you said, Julian. I think everybody who watches this immediately is just like, what did I watch? How do I even wrap my head around this? So those were kind of like the initial thoughts right afterwards, and then I just had to look into some stuff because I was curious what other people like, thought about the ending too. And I was like, well, I guess I could wait till now, but no, I gotta get some sense into this to make some other decisions because I am just so very confused. So
Yeah,
there you go. That was how I thought immediately after watching the movie. Just utter
I can't.
confusion.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's anyone in the universe, and this includes like Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke, who wrote the movie, where anyone finished this movie and was like, "Oh yeah, I get it. I like understand it perfectly." The only thing that I think is a constant in the movie, like a constant theme, is evolution. And this monolith, every time it appears, there's always some sort of push in evolution and intelligence, I would say. Like the first time it shows up, uh in front of the tribe of
I
early
think
man.
technology would also fall into that as one of the themes
Yeah,
as well.
because yeah, he that the apes like basically learn how to use tools. Um, uh, and then after the second time, that's when Hal is created. And then after that, I don't think does the monolith show up before David goes through the
No.
all the colors. I don't. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think he did.
No, it does.
It
Like
does?
he gets to Jupiter and he sees it like above.
Oh,
And then he
okay.
goes-
Oh,
that's
and then that's why he go. Yeah, you're right.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so that happens. After that, I'm not sure what exactly the kind of technological evolution would be, but there is definitely like, okay, he goes beyond in some form, whether it's like he goes beyond physically or metaphysically. I mean,
Or
I kind of
both.
see the yeah, I kind of see the monolith as like as a basically a higher power or some sort of god, or it could just be an alien, but there is like I think a very kind of pointed like whatever like uh what do you want to call it, like pointed, like I think it's very clear that it's trying to be like almost a metaphor for god, or yeah, a higher power, whatever created us. Because I didn't think about this until like literally just now, Will, when you mentioned like when he's pointing at the monolith at the end on his bed. That reminded me of like
Of a certain painting.
The painting.
yes, yeah, the creation of Adam.
Mhm.
Yeah, I never thought about that until just now. I was like, oh yeah,
That was
Except
kind of
this
that
time, God,
that was mentioned in the in what I read or watched too.
except this time, God wasn't touching back.
Or did
or
he?
was it?
I don't
Does it
know.
have arms? Does it have like a
Interpretation.
but that's another thing too, is like um I sort of just skimmed the Wikipedia article. So who knows, you know. I usually trust Wikipedia enough to get like basic, just kind of general things
It's
like
not
this,
as
right?
wrong as teachers say it is. I'm just saying.
As long as it's got links.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so it was basically saying that the reaction when the movie first came out, because I was really interested in this. When it first came out, people were pretty split on whether it was a sort of hopeful interpretation at the end or sort of a negative kind of pessimistic viewpoint. Because another way to look at it is like the monolith, every time it shows up, sort of creates something that is potentially destructive. Like
True.
uh, the first thing that the apes do is use these animal bones as tools to kill the leader of the other tribe. Uh, which I love that sequence with the. I mean, all the classical music in this movie I think is used so well, like Blue Danube, um, and God, it's so weird. I don't know the name of this piece because I just think of it as the 2001 theme. But you know, when the first time when he finds the bone and it's just like kind of hitting that uh tapir skull. I don't know, like what is that animal called? I think it's a tapir, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's what they're called. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he's just like bashing the skull in. It's like an already dead skeleton, just bashing it. Like that was such a great sequence. Um, and yeah, so like that happens after they find it on the moon. Hal gets created, and Hal, I love this character and like all the kind of themes that are like kind of brings up about humanity, because it's man, I mean, how for one thing, the voice is perfect. Like the guy that they got, I forgot his name. Douglas Rain, perfect choice. Like this guy's voice is just the right level of like this monotone, just very like with has like no feeling
I
in the
think
voice,
he
you know?
he perfectly did the whole like machine lack of feeling voice that you could tell as the film went on and he got smarter, his voice, like he just voice acted so well to portray that it was gaining intelligence. So
It
Yeah,
was perfect.
I know. It's and I think it's a good metaphor for how the movie kind of feels too, because there's lots of lines from how, especially near the end, where he's essentially kind of he's trying to trick David and saying like, I feel much better now. But it's like all in that monotone,
Yeah.
emotionless voice. And it's like, I never know how to feel about that, It's like, how is like this life form? He has intelligence and he has like emotion clearly, but it's all presented as like, yeah, this like completely emotionless thing. So it's like, in a way, it's he's begging for his life is what's happening, but it's like also he's trying to trick him, and I never know how to feel about Hal.
I
I kind
always
of
thought of that part when he's kind of begging for his life is kind of like I mean, he's smarter than a fucking baby, but when it comes to like intelligence and consciousness and shit, he was just like at that baby step of understanding like what he was or it was. I don't know how you want to say that, but and I think that it all of this could have been avoided. This is also another theory I have is that the humans on this ship, including Bowman, was like it was due to human error that Hal got out of control as well, because they didn't want to accept almost that he was gaining that kind of intelligence. They wanted to just fucking kill him and shut the whole thing down rather than accept like whatever. So I feel like the first time before they even started thinking about killing him and everything, the first time Hal made that mistake about that piece of equipment, if they like got past their ego, like the human ego, then I feel like they could have talked to Hal as like almost like a child and been like, it's okay to make mistakes. Like if they really just truly realized earlier on that he was gaining intelligence, all that could have been prevented. And he wouldn't need to beg for his life, that kind of thing. That's just one of the theories I have about that whole thing.
yeah. I mean, Hal is just like, and like the fact that the humans created it. It's not like how just happened into existence. It's like, so in a way, when he says like it can only be attributed to human error, he's right. Like, we're the ones that created Hal.
Yeah.
So like any error it makes is our own mistake. Um so yeah, I don't know. So there's like this interpretation that like, yeah, this monolith is almost sort of like a doom bringer,
The
like a
tool turns
harbinger.
against man this time
Exactly.
around.
But is it like, okay, is that just humanity? Is humanity the one at fault for that?
I
Like
think
but
humanity
the
is
monolith is
my
just
thing.
giving us the tools. Like,
Humanity breeds violence. So
True.
yeah. So that then what is like the interpretation of what the Star Child is? What is it like the ultimate harbinger of doom, or is it hopeful? The music kind of plays it as hopeful, but
well,
the
you think
music is almost,
seeing like a baby though makes you think of innocence, I would
yeah,
think.
that too.
So I could
It's
see
almost
it
like
like
it
I
like
interpret it
full
as more
circle.
hopeful because
And
of that. Even
ignorance.
though
Too.
like it's pretty creepy at the end when it kind of looks at the screen like it's looking at us, but at least to me like the baby represents innocence and good because babies are very pure for the most part. So you
For the
would
most
think
part.
it's like
They whine a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, but still you think of babies usually think of innocence.
That baby's
Some
just gonna cry and it's just gonna
like the whole earth's gonna
kill
hear
us
it.
all.
I think
Yeah.
of stupidity.
Yeah, us too.
Fucking dumb babies, dude.
They don't know anything.
Fucking idiots.
Man, they're poor underdeveloped brains.
Will's like these poor babies, they're so innocent. And Dustin and I are like, idiots.
Forget it.
Idiots.
Stupid. But no, that I think that is a very, because I didn't really have the interpretation that it was like a, yeah, like a dooming thing until I was kind of reading about it. Like every time I see the movie, I usually have the thought that like this is like almost like reaching yeah, a higher plane of existence in a way. And again, yeah, that music sort of treats it as um, kind of triumphant in a way. Um, but all the music in the movie is kind of like detached from the movie in a sense, you know? Uh, but I mean, there are like certain parts of the movie where I feel like the music, I don't know, it's very subjective. Like whenever the monolith appears, it has that score. I forgot what it's called. I think it's like also I want to look it up because I like the title of this track. What the fuck? I'll find it in a second. But oh, also Sprack Zarathustra is the name of the track. Uh and it's just like this real like creepy, like eerie, like score whenever the monolith appears. Like I get chills just like thinking about it, and it's like,
Yeah, I thought that too. Anytime like I heard it, it is very chilling.
yeah, but it's also kind of like I feel like meeting coming into contact with like a higher power or even just aliens or whatever it's supposed to be, um like that would be very scary but mysterious and kind of beautiful in a way. Like I never feel like the movie is like just flat out saying like, "Oh, this monolith is bad," but it is like we don't know what this is. Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just like all the presentation in this movie is just like amazing. Um, uh, do you guys have any other thoughts on like just what the movie means?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, go
My
ahead.
my very base theory, and I won't go too far. I don't need to go far into it because my thoughts in the beginning kind of relate to this. But have you guys ever seen? There's a bunch of different explanation videos on it, never, but like the explanation of fourth dimensional beings and like three dimensional and two dimensional, and like how they interact or would see each other at all.
Nah.
Fuck, man. All right. Well, anyone watching, if you have, it's very there's one very viral video on YouTube about it. If you just look up like fourth dimensional beings explained, it's like one of those sciencey YouTube channels that made it, multi-million views, whatever. But just quick explanation of it. It's
Like our
like,
John Carter video.
yeah, fucking God, dude, we're always gonna
Sciencey.
reference that fucking piece of ass. Like, it's never gonna stop.
It's never gonna go away.
Dude, it's just not. But I'll give a quick explanation, and if you don't understand it, I'm sorry because shit is more confusing than this movie. But it's actual scientific theory. It's like, imagine you're a two-dimensional being, which is flat. You can't go up or down. You go left, right, back, and forth. So if a three-dimensional being was put in front of you, you can't see up or down. So all you would see is like a line. Like all you would see as a two-dimensional being is like a flat line. You wouldn't see above or below us. You would just see a line. And we would only be in that very direct field of view. So it would look like a fucking pancake to a two-dimensional being. That's how we would look to them. You kind of see where that's coming from or no? Am I explaining this badly?
Yeah, I guess so.
So that's, again, if you want to watch this video after this, I think it's a plausible theory outside of my just personal theory. I think maybe because of this video, it's why I believe it. But it's based on real scientific theory. And then that's how two-dimensional beings see things. It's just flat, which is why you would just see a line. If we stood in front of one, they would only see us as a line. Whereas three-dimensional beings, we can't see fourth-dimensional beings in the same way because, and I'm not going to go into that. I can't explain that part, but it's crazy. But we couldn't comprehend or see fourth-dimensional beings just as 2D couldn't see us. And I think the shape, like the monolith being this rectangular shape, this is my theory, is that it's not just a god or anything. I just think it is a fourth dimensional being that as humans can't comprehend it unless it wants you to. I think that the monolith itself isn't just this representation of something or just this block. I think it is quite literally a fourth dimensional being that humanity can't, or any three-dimensional being on Earth, any animal, you can't see it. Like, you can't comprehend what it is because it's just on another plane of existence. And I think those beings were like helping, not humanity, because before humans were humans, they were helping apes. But I think they're helping our species evolve to kind of understand the universe. And that's my theory on the movie, is that these aren't just monoliths. They're actual, just not gods, just literal fourth dimensional beings that to them, they're very normal. And they're just kind of bringing us along for the trip, which in my opinion explains the very last showcase of it, where it just kind of shows up. It's not this thing that's always been there for thousands of years. It moved almost. So I think
they're like the Celestials from Marvel.
I guess. I mean,
Sure.
I mean, maybe not. I don't want to say they've been there since like the beginning or anything. That maybe even before that, maybe they
just have to throw that out there. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from. If the Celestials
here's something too. I don't hear this get brought up too much, but in the last part, when he's traveling through the infinite or beyond the infinite, there's these like whatever you want to call it, like kind of like diamond shape beings in the sky, and they're like kind of changing. The fuck are those? I like never hear anyone mention those things, and it's like one of the coolest looking things in the movie.
I don't even think I noticed
I
that.
think, and I
Oh, you didn't?
It's right when he touches the
They were like
fucking
these
thing.
like diagonal looking things, and
I'll have to see that.
They look like diamonds. There's
Okay.
like 7 of them in the life.
Gosh,
yeah,
I don't
think there's
remember
like
that.
3 or so, but yeah.
No, there's way more. There's like a whole fucking
I'll have to look at that part
there's like a
again.
lineup. But
Hey, there was a lot going on in my defense. So
in everyone's defense, you might have missed that. I probably missed something else. But I think that those they're not gods or anything. I think it's quite literally just a regular ass fourth dimensional fucking thing trying to help what is now humanity kind of evolve into what they are to the next level of like intelligence, which is what the movie has been about. Apes to us to machine to a smarter human being and beyond or whatever. And I think that final thing, he finally, do whatever fucking means, I don't know. But the monolith kind of helped Bowman see finally into the fourth dimension, which is why I think those crazy diamond fucking shapes that were shining was kind of like maybe not their true form or whatever, but he could finally kind of, at least to him in the movie, he could comprehend finally what he was looking at. It wasn't just a monolith. It was like this whole fourth dimension that he was finally getting brought into. And then I also think him getting older and then back into a baby kind of goes into the fact that it's like a time thing, where it's like, it's because, time is always one of those big theories with evolution. It's like, why can you only go forward? Why can't we go back in time? Time is like this spectrum thing, whatever. I don't know how to explain it, but you guys know what I'm talking about in general. I think it's kind of like he finally got past that barrier. And I think instead of evolution, it went into the theory of like, what's it called? Reincarnation. So maybe not reincarnating into a fucking bird, but it's kind of like life is not based on time. You don't just get old over time and then that's it. I think you keep going, and it's like this nonstop thing. I just think in general, my theory is that, with all that being said, is there are fourth dimensional beings you can't really comprehend, and they helped humanity evolve. And Bowman was the first human that they helped get past that evolutionary barrier into the next level. That's my theory on the movie. And then also, I do want to say, as an interesting thing, and this isn't against the movie itself, by the way, it always comes into my head that this movie, any kind of media, be it like Blade Runner, the original one with Harrison Ford, or the most recent one, or like the Cyberpunk game, anything, it's like I always find it funny, if not hopeful, being on thing with what we were talking about, that which is why I think hopeful is kind of the vibe at the end, maybe not anything negative, is because it's like you always see these futuristic renditions of like a movie or video game, like I said, and it's always like it's happened so many times. I can't think of an exact example, but like for this one, 2001, when this was made, they really thought we'd be making missions to Jupiter, like whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And that not even fucking close. Like we have a few decades until we're just down doing that on the reg. And then you have like I said, Cyberpunk, the video game. That's supposed to be what, 2047? Like there's no shot.
2077.
2077, even then. Or Blade Runner 2049. Like there's no fucking shot that by
Oh,
any
yeah,
of those years.
the first Blade Runner takes place in 2019.
Yeah,
like, we weren't even fucking close.
Yeah, it's literally. I think it's there's no fucking shot that we ever get to what we think is going to be the future. But I think that is a good thing because it's hopeful. I think it kind of shows the human spirit of always looking like things are going to get crazy better. And even in Cyberpunk, where it's kind of like this
humanity's not going to get that far. We're going to kill each other off by then, for sure.
I mean, to be honest, that's probably the realistic thing that's going to happen, to be real. I won't get into that. But I think it's just interesting that no matter what form of media, whether it be books, movies, video game, YouTube video, artwork, drawing, it's always the future is always this crazy awesome thing that we all want, but by the time we get there, it's never there, like ever. I'm sure a few old ass books have kind of hit the mark, but even in Cyberpunk, where it's kind of like this dreary capitalism type thing, it's still cool because you have like flying fucking cars and settlements on other planets, and it there's always, even now, there's still poor and rich. Like it's not much of a difference. So I don't know. I thought this is one of those movies that kind of brought that up in my head, where it's like, yeah, dude, I kind of wish by 2001 we had that kind of thing where we had AI and maybe that whole thing of events already passed. Because if like machinery, like how it really did, like, or AI in general kind of pushed the limits of like human intelligence, like I'm sure that would lead to a series of events. Maybe not some dude in real life touching a monolith and turning into a fucking baby, but like I'm certain it would have some kind of evolutionary step. AI itself would be an evolutionary step. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts, even though that's kind of a dead end right there. That's my thought on the movie, and that fourth dimensional thing is kind of what I think of when I see the monoliths and everything. So that's all I have on that.
Yeah, the monoliths come down and they're like, you have to think fourth dimensionally.
You fucking idiot. Like they start talking and cursing some dudes out. Stupid. You're like, what?
Well, that was another thing like that's interesting about this movie, is that we're so detached from humanity for so much of it. Really, like I looked it up. Dr. Haywood is the scientist who is like going to the space station, gives the speech. He is really the only character that has any real human interaction with people. He talks to that group of friends, and he talks to his daughter, but it's all very like, I don't know, it all feels calculated, like him talking to his daughter almost feels like, yeah, like that's what, like,
like the advances
yeah,
in technology have kind of like disconnected us. Which,
yeah,
hey, he wasn't really off about that in a lot of ways.
yeah, really.
Look at things now.
But yeah, she Will just showed his phone.
Oh yeah, I forgot I can't see. Phone, technology, detachment.
But like, he's talking about like, I'll send you a present. I can't be there for you and stuff. And then like when the group is like talking to him, they're asking him about like, oh, like what, what's this thing about like there's like an epidemic or something on the moon. They kind of cover up the fact that they found this monolith by saying like that there is an epidemic and that like no one can travel there. They're stopping all traveling to the moon. And yeah, the way he goes about it, he's like, I can't talk about that. It's classified. Can't say anything. But he doesn't like reassure them of anything. You know what I mean? Again, it's like all very cold, but under like this kind of human face, which a lot of people do that just in general. But I thought that was interesting. We never really see Earth in this future, which is very different from lots of other futuristic movies. Um, unless maybe,
You see more of the moon than fucking Earth.
yeah. I mean, like we see like the daughter on Earth because like he calls her there, but we never see anything around her or anything. We don't really see what the room looks like. Um,
Yeah.
the only thing is like David, once he's in that kind of room or mansion or at the end, whatever it is, maybe it's on Earth. It's
I
probably not.
so I'm not sure I fully agree because I can't vouch for this, but from that video that I watched with the whole explained synopsis thing, at the very end, and I really do want to go back and watch it specifically because of this, but I'll watch it all the way through again because of the Hal stuff. But apparently, when he first gets in the room, there's background noise that sounds like it's coming from outside the room. Some kind of either it didn't explain either a sound effect or some kind of weird thing that sounded muffled. And the theory on that, which I'm assuming is widespread because the video I watched was pretty big. In fact, it was the only good one that I could even find that had a lot of views that didn't have like negative dislikes. Not that you can see them anymore, but it said that the room, and again, this is just another theory, but I'm assuming it's maybe one of the leading ones. I don't know. That said that the room was supposed to be kind of like a zoo for a human, and that the whatever gods or monolith, whatever the hell the theory is on that, were observing him as a human before they did whatever with him at the end. And that's why it was set up like kind of just like this generic, weird, like old room setup, like a very basic bed, table, and chair kind of thing. Um, that it was just the bare bones basics for like a human living at home. Kind of like how we do with animals at a zoo. They have the very basics of living at home, even though you're trapped. So that's what the video said. I don't really know what to think about that. I don't think it's bad, but again, billions of fucking theories with this movie. But that's I thought I'd just point that out since you're talking about it. But that's what that video said. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to mention about that part too is like I don't see this interpretation much either. That and to be fair, I don't look up a lot of interpretations, but like it's just a very human sort of thing. Because this movie is so wrapped up in this like kind of uh wrapping of like higher beings and stuff like that, like grander things. But just like the very human thing of like looking back at your older self and it's not there anymore. I love that. Like just such a simple communicated idea um that I feel like even if you're not thinking about it in the moment, you can kind of feel that, you know? Um I just love that little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like this whole movie's again so very cold in terms of its human emotional elements.
Did
Um
you notice? I guess this makes sense. Is the first time I noticed it because Interstellar is a recent movie, but in the very at the end when he first the monolith sucks him into that weird portal fucking thing that he goes through. In the very beginning, the visuals very, very closely resemble Interstellar when he first goes into that fourth dimensional fucking like library thing. Um, if you look at the visuals before all the landscapes, it's like there's a lot of like it looks like bookshelves. So the colors are all crazy, but it looks like these rectangle shapes he's going through, like these things, and it very much resembles Interstellar. So there's just another relation. I love when new shit draws inspiration from old shit. So I think maybe that was another thing that maybe they took a creative liberty from. And obviously they went their own way with it in Interstellar, but it looked very similar. And I think the idea and plot wise was the same at that point. Like in 2001, he's going into this alternate dimension thing or something.
Spoilers for Interstellar here, I guess.
Oh, who hasn't seen it? If we're talking about,
I haven't seen it, but you can.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think we'll
Oh,
seen it.
I don't.
All right,
You can talk about it. I don't really.
well,
really
too
don't
late
care.
now. I already
Yeah.
said it. There's
don't
nothing
really-
more to go into.
I'll probably forget. I don't care.
Honestly,
I'll
without
see it at some
context,
point, but-
it's a spoiler. But without context, you don't even know where it's going to come from. So whatever. But it was just another relation. My bad, by the way. I didn't know you hadn't seen it. Well, but it's just another. You can tell. I mean, honestly, half the fucking movie takes inspiration from 2001, very directly. Like you can tell. And even if it's not, it's maybe by its coincidence, whatever. But there's just a lot of the same stuff, and that's one of them where it's like going through a portal and seeing crazy shit. The very beginning looks very similar to that. I don't know if in an interview that I don't know who directed Interstellar. But,
Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, well, yeah, I don't know if he ever said.
Christopher Nolan was very inspired by 2001.
Okay, so it makes sense then. But if you go back, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up that one scene on YouTube, maybe right when he goes into the portal.
Yeah.
You'll see what I'm talking about. Oh,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I thought that was interesting because I didn't. It's not like I watched Interstellar and thought of 2001. It's that I was watching 2001 and I realized I was like, oh, like I can, in a good way. It was exciting.
Yeah, I feel like lots of. I mean, if I'm thinking about it, I feel like this is like almost like the first, like mainstream, like experimental film. You know,
Yeah. That's why I said in the beginning.
It's very unconventional. It just like it has no real like structure to it. I mean, it's like there's like you can kind of break it down, but it's not like a conventional 3-act movie structure, you know. Yeah, it's just kind of like I don't know. I don't know if there was anything like this before. And I know David Lynch, one of my favorite directors, was heavily influenced by this movie and Stanley Kubrick in general.
What did he make? What has he done? I don't know.
David Lynch, like Twin Peaks, Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive. I'm not sure if you've seen any David Lynch. I'd love to do David Lynch.
I have
on here at some point.
I've seen Eraserhead at least.
Okay. And I know Eraserhead, when that came out, Stanley Kubrick said that was like his favorite movie. So there's a real like, I don't know, almost like symbiotic relationship, kind of like Venom, where no, I'm kidding. But like,
get him.
where they were kind of like very, very much like kind of on the same wavelength a lot of the time. And then
you think Eminem took inspiration from 2001?
Yeah, I think Eminem heavily influenced by 2001: Space Odyssey. But in the new Twin Peaks season that came out a few years ago, there was a sequence that was extremely like similar to the Beyond the Infinite sequence in this movie. It has its own kind of context and everything. It's not like a ripoff, but I almost feel like that was maybe like a little kind of tribute to Stanley Kubrick in a way. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with this, but I think 2001 is just like one of the most influential films ever made.
I agree.
I mean, I don't know. Like all the technical qualities of the movie are just like perfect. Like I every time I see this movie, I try to like find something that I think is like off, and I can't find anything, or I'm just too sucked in that I don't even care. And just like even little things like this movie isn't without humor too. I'll say that. Like as much as I say like this movie has a very cold feel, there are funny parts. I like the part where he looks at the zero gravity toilet rules instructions on how to use a zero gravity toilet. That was funny. Just like when they're eating those like disgusting looking sandwiches that just look like, I don't know, they look like plastic or something to me.
Astronaut food, baby.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, they're getting better at it all the time, and like,
it's like, oh, what did it look like before?
Exactly. Yeah, or even just like some of the things that like um I don't know. I kind of forgot what I was going to say, but just like there are lots of human elements here, um, but they are sort of still presented in a very cold, matter of fact way. Again, like it's very procedural. We see everyone kind of do everything step by step. Uh, but I almost feel like that just like enhances the tension, and it sort of like lulls you into this sense of security in a way. At least for me, like this time around, I sort of felt like I was like very like relaxed watching those parts, and then it's like, oh, they get to the monolith, and it's just like that crazy, just like creepy music starts playing, and it's just even more unnerving. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, do you guys have anything else to say? It's kind of like a hard movie to talk about too, because it's like I feel like everything's been said about it.
That's what I thought. Like, as soon as I finished this, and I thought about when we were going to talk about it, it's like this is a really hard one to talk about. And then
Yeah,
like rating, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say about this. I don't know what I'm going to rate this because it's just so unique, so
Yeah.
different. And it's kind of like what you were saying before, Julian, very unconventional.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
so it's like hard to give like a really definite opinion on it, especially after like just watching it once. I think if I had watched it multiple times, I could get a little bit better idea on my thoughts, but I'm still like trying to form opinions and theories. It's
yeah,
crazy.
I mean, maybe we can at the end of our next one or the next couple, we can revisit it for a little bit at the end or in the beginning.
maybe we'll see.
Do it. Do
But
it. Do a episode. What episode is this, by the way?
8.
8. Do an
Yeah.
8.5. Do a quick little 8.5. Why not?
Maybe if like Will watches it again or something,
Yeah,
then we can do
I
it.
say we do that, and then we'll go. We should also revisit John Carter, but we only say good things about it, and it's only 5 seconds long.
And it gets 0 views this time.
It doesn't have any.
But yeah, I
The whole
wanted to
video is
ask,
like it
like,
sucks. That's it.
I wanted to ask, like, so you didn't think going in this was going to be like an unconventional like art
Not
movie?
even a little.
That's
I
okay.
just
That's
thought it was
funny.
just gonna be the whole Hal thing. That's all I've really ever seen people talk and reference. I think I have seen the Star Child reference
Yeah,
before, but I didn't know it was from this. Didn't know. Didn't
that's
know that.
funny.
So
Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Are we like done with the discussion, or like, is there anything else to say? Because I'm very curious what we're gonna rate it. I mean, like, I know what I'm gonna rate it for sure, but is there anything else to say about it?
I got nothing.
I think we've all said all our thoughts that we can muster up for the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, as soon as we end this video, I'm gonna have a million more thoughts. But
That's how it works every
I mean,
time.
it's all out there information on how they made the movie. Um, I mean, just the photography in this movie is like outstanding. I'll say, like, if anything, this is a movie where I feel like Stanley Kubrick really became Stanley Kubrick, where everything is just like so immaculately made. Uh, like this I feel like was the first time he really just nailed that. Because other movies beforehand that he made were really great, really beautifully shot still, but something about this, it's just like, I don't know. It's like you're watching like a moving painting, you know? So yeah, that's I think I'm done with my thoughts. Yeah, let's rate this sucker. How do we should I just go first? I know what I'm gonna rate it.
Go ahead. I think I
Okay.
know too.
I mean, it's it's a 5. Like I can't think of any other way to rate it. Like, and even just from personal preference, I love this movie. Like every time I see it, I get completely sucked in. It's definitely a movie where I have to sit down and watch it. It's not like a like Evil Dead where I can just kind of pop it on and it's like, oh, this is fun. Uh, but like man, every technical quality of this movie is so outstanding to look at, and there's like lots of mystery in the plot and the concept of the movie itself, and the monolith and all that stuff, all the thematic stuff. But like, I almost I don't like look up how this movie was made either, because like I'm just so blown away by it. I just want to keep it a mystery. You know what I mean? It's just like it keeps the movie really fresh for me every time. Um, and it's so gorgeous. I watched it in 4K like the past couple times, and it just looks unbelievable. Like I can't believe this movie is like over 50 years old. Like it's insane. Uh, yeah, this movie, it's like I don't know exactly what it means, but I love that about it. I think like that makes the movie stronger, and it's just like every time I see it, it feels different in some way, just like emotionally, or I catch some little detail. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. I think I can confidently say that. Like there are some movies where you hear like, oh, it's the greatest movie of all time, and then you watch it and you're kind of disappointed. I This is not one of those movies for me. Like this is just such an outstanding piece of filmmaking. Like easy 5 stars for me. I feel like I've been giving lots of fives recently, but it's just been we've been watching lots of movies that I really like. So yeah, it's a 5 from me. I don't know which one of you guys wants to go next.
All right, Dustin.
All right, we're gonna save the best for last since you chose it. Then,
Yeah,
I give it a 4.
curious.
I give it a 4 for all the reasons that I said before. I don't think I need to go into what I said. And the only reason it's not a 5 for me isn't because I have anything against it. It's just that actually the one thing I do is the beginning was a little slow. I love monkeys, but I can only watch them for so long.
Can I
even
say
then, even then, I don't think anybody can tell a story like this movie can about just watching monkeys, because it does give a
I have
story.
to say just real quick, because you mentioned the monkeys.
Yeah,
They look really realistic.
they do.
Like
They
the
do.
suits and everything. Like you can definitely tell it's human actors like playing them.
Yeah, but it looks really good.
Yeah.
does.
And it's
It
funny
does.
because like I watched Planet of the Apes before
Shitty.
2001.
They do not
the
look
last-
real.
No, they don't. Planet of the Apes has like a fun B movie feel to it, but
Yeah,
and
it does.
it's still pretty good.
Yeah,
But like man, they look so realistic in this.
I agree.
Anyway, yeah.
I do agree with that fully. But I think the beginning is too slow for me. I can't. I want to fast forward through it.
You're gonna say that about one of the greatest movies of all time. No,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
kidding.
I'm sorry.
I kind of figured.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of. I think you can. I think
It's
both
got
of
to
you
be
guys.
like a really personal movie.
Yeah,
for it to
literally
reach
the only
5
reason I'm
stars.
not giving it a 5 is the personal factor. I think it's a
Yeah.
perfect movie otherwise. I think you both can kind of tell where I'm. I don't feel like I'm too random on ratings. I feel like both of you can kind of tell where I'm going to go with
No,
certain things,
I think you're pretty.
which is a good thing. I'm not saying that's bad. I just feel like
I'm
it is kind of obvious.
I'm kind of like preemptively defending you from viewers. I feel because I feel like there's
look,
gonna be some people who
Oh,
are
please,
like,
we're not
how
going to get
did
any
you not?
comments. We're not going to
look,
get any
if
comments.
someone
Come
does
on.
comment, I'll defend my fucking self. But I'm going to use
Who
an alt
knows?
account.
Maybe 50 years from now, someone will watch this video and be like, "What the fuck? You didn't give it a 5 out of 5?"
Dude, if somebody's watching this 50 years from now, I'll probably have fucking Alzheimer's, man. I'm not even gonna remember we did it.
We'll be all like close to. I'll be 80 in 50
I'll be
years.
like,
You guys will
what?
be close to 80.
And then
Yeah,
we'll be visited
I don't-
by the monolith.
yeah, exactly.
Become the
So I'm
Star Trek.
gonna give it a 4 just because there's a certain. I mean, I can't. I'm not even gonna go. Everything I said before, I give it a 4. Solid. I do think it's even to this day when it comes to technical filmmaking, it is one of the best of all time. So yeah, 4 for me.
Alrighty, that means I'm up then. So, like I said earlier, this is, I think, a very hard movie to rate. And I could see my rating changing upon more viewings, but since I've only seen it this one time, I'm going to go with my initial one. And I'm just going to say right now, it's like, it was either between like a 4.5 and a 5. I think the only thing that I would quote unquote have against it is there are some slow parts. I don't really mind like the first 20 minutes as much, but there's a lot of parts where they're just traveling through space, which look incredible. But I was kind of like, okay, I can speed it up a little bit. But it's all done like it's very purposefully slow. Like it's not like with other movies where I think it's slow because maybe they're trying to fill up time or something. I think that it's very intentionally done. I don't know if like in a second viewing I'd be tempted to like fast forward a little bit through those scenes or not. I don't know yet. But I just know that was a little bit hard to get through in some of those spots. But like everything else is just so good. The fact that this movie, after 50 years, still has so many people wonder like what happened in this, and there's so many different interpretations. There's so many different theories to discuss. It's just like a movie you can like almost indefinitely like discuss over and over and over, and will be discussed over and over and over. And it's just so influential. So many things have taken inspiration from it, and I enjoyed watching it immensely. You know, save for like a few slow parts, but that's like so minimal compared to the whole 2.5-hour experience. Because this movie really is an experience for sure. I know people like to say that about like every movie. I think I've said that before too, but like this one, it's just even more so is true with this movie. So I think I'm going to kind of go with more of my initial, and I think this could change after a second viewing, but I think I'm going to give it a 4.5.
All right.
Which, hey, that's pretty close. Just for some pacing issues, but it's still pretty minimal. And I think if I were to watch it again, it could get a 5, but I'm just going to go with my initial thought. So, and it's in between you guys. So there you go.
All right. I'm going to see what that brings the
Is that our highest
average.
or second highest?
I think it might be our
think
second
Rocky
because
is still our
Rocky got 5s from me and Julian.
Okay. And I give it a 4.5, right? Or
I think
4.
you gave it a 4.
Okay.
So this might be
Have
our
I given a 5? I don't think I've given a 5 to anything yet, huh?
No, we got to find that 5.
Might have been your own stuff.
2001 Space Odyssey gets a 4.5 average from us, which, I realized I should have figured that because 4.55, that I didn't have to use a calculator for that.
Yeah.
Technology, it's going to destroy us all. Look at the monolith.
Yeah, there you go.
It's
even like the shape of a phone. Oh, foreshadowing.
My first 5 is going to have to come from one of you guys because I personally, hard fucking brick wall. I will never request a movie on here that I think is a 5. I can't do it. I'll be way too biased. And then if I do, I would just be devastated if either of you, which I'm sure would happen, gave it less than a 5. I would leave the call being like, those motherfuckers. Like, God damn it. I shouldn't have.
I think the only movie I'd be like almost offended that someone wouldn't give a 5 out of 5 is Back to the Future.
Yeah. I'd be kind
that's
of
my
like,
favorite movie, so I'd be
crazy?
like, how is it not a 5 out of 5 to you? I think that's like the only one. Like,
yeah, I don't think I'll ever. The 5 is gonna come from one of you guys, 100%. I'll never request a 5 from me because the only shit I'm gonna do is shit that I really like. That's at most 4, or I'm gonna request it because it's really fucking bad, or if it has some other sentimental fucking thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I've given 3 movies a 5 out of 5.
Rightfully so, though. I mean, they were all deserving.
Yeah, they just happen to be some of my favorites. Will, you've only given Rocky a 5, I believe. So yeah, I don't know, Dustin. We got to find a 5 for you. I think you should recommend a movie that you think is 5 out of 5.
All my 5 out of 5 movies, you guys are going to give at least a
like
3.5 or less, and I'm not ready to fucking hear that.
Okay. What if one of us gave it a 1, Dustin?
I would fucking leave. I would leave. I couldn't handle it, man. That's why I don't want to do it. My ego for certain things, man, is just, I'm not even going to tell you what they are because there's only
I could see
maybe 4 movies I'd give out of 5 maybe 5 or 6. I don't know. I'm probably forgetting some. Yeah, I couldn't do it.
I could see us like doing a movie that Dustin gives a 5 out of 5, and like he's the first one to rate it, and like here's why it's a 5, and then like Julian starts next. It's like I'm giving it like a 2. Here's why, and then I'd be like, you know what? Maybe I'll give it like a 1.5.
Yeah, fucking damn it!
And then Dustin's
Fucking
face is
slap
like
my
the
camera.
meme, like with the kid like turning red and like the vein popping out of his head, like that meme.
I'm just
That'd be
gonna break
Dustin.
my fucking desk and throw my fucking phone across.
Yeah, that meme would be
I
Dustin. Would
couldn't
be that
handle it.
meme.
I'll tell you, actually, one of the 5s that I have is, you guys, I don't know if you give it a 5. I'll tell you what it is. I don't think any of us are gonna request it because it doesn't fucking stream anywhere and it pisses me off. In one place, and I'm never gonna. Fuck, should I say? I'm not gonna say it because you guys
maybe
might
you should
actually
save
do
it.
Maybe you should give us your. We should wrap that up a little bit right now, though, because it's Dustin's turn next for the movie.
That's
anyway.
right. Yeah.
Mm.
So maybe we should hear that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Well, now you know, but yeah, I won't say what because I feel like, just to finish my thought on that, I don't want to say what that 5 is because I think we'll come to an agreement, but one of you might request it.
Okay. Yeah. Don't say it just in case one of us.
I'm not. I just thought of that as I said that. But my pick, without leaking what I think about it, because I do want to give the fuck. This is the only detail I'll say. I haven't seen this confirmed. Like I did the fucking math for sure. I haven't seen this movie in about 15 years. Would be the last time I saw this. And real quick on an important level, I also picked this just for some mental health awareness because it stars Robin Williams, one of the OG actors of all time, and is unfortunate.
Love Robin Williams.
Yeah, a great guy, and you know what he was dealing with is very unfortunate.
I'm trying to guess what.
It's not. I think he died in August, and I didn't even look that up. He's very influential. And I think he had a lot of good movies from childhood up until, unfortunately, when he took his life that were very good, if not just funny and entertaining. He's a good comedian. His stand-up that he did every once in a while, he did a lot of stuff for the military. And the movie I'm going to pick is by him in 1997. It is going to be Flubber.
Oh, shit. I love Flubber, man. I haven't seen that in years. I grew up with that movie. It's Julian
was
too, right?
On my big list of movies that I thought I would recommend at some point.
There we go.
That's funny.
So it's on.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Years.
Though, but I watched that so much as a kid. I had like the toy. What was the little yellow robot's name?
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah,
I don't remember.
I know you had that. What the?
I had that. I loved that toy.
I don't remember the name at all. But
Weebo?
Yes, I think it was Weebo.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. I remembered it. Yes.
And I will say, just for anyone else interested, because I know we probably have a small audience, if not a couple people that watch, but it is on Disney Plus. Obviously, it is a Disney film, not like current Disney films, but it is on Disney Plus. Flubber, 1997. It is a science fiction comedy type deal. Yeah.
Fun movie, from what I remember.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to revisit it
2001
as an adult.
We're going from 2001: A Space Odyssey to Flubber.
I like that. It's just a little change of pace here. I 2 thumbs up on that, Dustin. Even if it ends up sucking, which I don't think, we'll see. But
we'll see.
I love the movie as a kid.
It
will be like at least a fun change of pace.
I will say, when it comes to Flubber, I think a lot of the rating is whatever we choose is going to come from younger childhood and kind of comparing it to how we see things now.
Yeah, is this?
Because I think a lot of people saw it as a kid. So
yeah, we'll see. Is this gonna bring out some nostalgia?
Oh,
or is it going to be
for me? Yeah.
Dog.
There are some childhood movies where I've watched it again. I'm like, that was not
good. Gosh, I'm hoping.
All right, I'm excited. I'm excited for Flubber.
I'm excited too. I'm excited for Flubber. Gosh, it's been so long. This is a good excuse to watch it again. Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, yeah. So next week is Flubber starring Robin Williams. It's on Disney Plus. You can watch it and follow along our discussion next time. Bye for now.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.